Welcome to Jackson Reviews, the channel where I go through the best and worst horror movies so people can yell at me in the comments. I'm Sam Jackson and today we're going to be going through Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. With the series being successfully revived with Jason Lives, you'd expect, since that film was such high quality, all the other ones to follow. At least this film tries to. To be fair, Paramount did take a bit more time creating this one, at least coming up with the concept, even if the actual production schedule was only about 7 months. The film was released around about 2 years after the previous one, similar to how Part 4 was released 2 years after Part 3. So at least it showed that they tried to come up with something new. And to be fair, this film was extremely different to anything that came before it. The film was a lot more supernatural than anything we'd seen before, even Jason Lives, which makes it one of the best and one of the worst Fridays at the exact same time. For me personally, I really enjoy this film, but there are many flaws which I will go through. Let's just say for the Tina, it wouldn't be that surprising if Stephen King filed a copyright lawsuit and won. She literally uses telekinetic and psychic powers to battle Jason. That's Carrie to fuck, but all those scenes are awesome, so you will not see me criticising even the slightest bit. This starts the first film in the series to feature Kane Hodder, who would continue playing Jason up until the movie Jason X. Basically, the only reason he wasn't in Freddy vs. Jason was because the director was a knob. Screw you, Ronnie Yu. But anyway, with all that out of the way, let's get into the review of the weirdest Friday film in the whole franchise. The movie begins a little after Part 6 ends, with Jason still under Camp Crystal Lake. We get introduced to Tina, this film's survivor girl, who runs off after her dad starts abusing her mother. But Tina's a good old second-wave feminist and doesn't stand up for spousal abuse, so decides to send Jason a friend, killing her dad accidentally. Now, I don't usually mention the intro credits because they're weird and I've never really minded them until now, even if they're going for too long. But this film's one really pisses me off. It's slow, it's boring, and it's just so dull. Like, nothing is shown and the music is boring. Just fuck these intro credits, basically. Fuck them. Around 10 years later, we meet a grown-up Tina, her mother, and Tina's psychologist Dr. Cruz, or Bad News Cruz. At this point, Tina has some level of control of her powers, but Cruz notices when she gets emotional, she gets a lot stronger, so he keeps trying to piss her off. Yes, he is a terrible doctor, moving on. Tina runs off upset and tries to resurrect her dad, something that she kinda should have done around about 10 years ago. Instead, she ends up waking up Jason. How rude. He was sleeping very comfortably, Tina. We meet this film's victims. Yes, the terms victims has returned, with the most bitchy group of characters in any of these movies. Most of them are dead before the hour mark, so only really focus on Nick, the hot guy, and Melissa, the bitch. The group mentioned that they're waiting for Nick's cousin Michael and his girlfriend, female teen number 5. Jason decides to shake off some old skin. Seriously, look at how fucking great the special effects are in this movie for Jason. It's awesome. And he gets to kill him. He kills both Michael and his girlfriend in very dull and ungory fashions, and Tina has a vision of Michael's death and runs away. Jason then kills 2 random campers, one with an actually gory kill, and the other one which is possibly the most famous kill in the series. Like, just watch it. We get the usual attempt to make us care for the non-main characters, and it's just as dull as the most installments, but at least we get some more of Melissa. 2 of them get quickly killed, and my theory of Jason teleporting stands tall when he suddenly appears behind one of them to drag them underwater. My Jason Takes Manhattan video is going to get so much hate for the fact I really like that movie. We found out Dr. Cruz is using Tina's powers to profit, and threatens to commit her if he's not allowed to continue. Tina runs off, and we see Jason murder her mum before crashing a car. Don't hallucinate and drive, Tina. Drive safe. We also get the first time these characters randomly run through the woods in this film, something which is extremely common. Maddie tries to do her own Cinderella story, but Jason shows her that she's beautiful on the inside too. It's just a shame it's off screen and it ends up being a throat slash, even though it's definitely across the guts. Token black couple of them murdered, with once again very quick and mostly off-screen kills, even though they're shown, it literally only lasts a second. Fuck the MPAA for this movie. Seriously, fuck them. Stoner guy has been killed with a boring knife to the stomach, and the nerdy guy gets a machete to the neck, which instantly cuts away. And finally, this girl Robin gets a similar kill to the one in Part 4 with one of her twins, except instead of a beautifully made slow-motion horror shot, it looks more like she tripped out of a window, and that would definitely not kill her. Just saying. Back to the actual characters now. Tina ends up finding out a little bit more about Bad News Cruz and his links to Jason. Whilst Cruz and Tina's mum are randomly in the woods looking for her, okay, I guess. And Jason suddenly appears behind her, teleporting. And she gets what could have been an awesome impalement, but since it's mostly off screen, we don't see much. At least we got to see a little bit more in Tina's weird vision while she's driving. Tina then runs back into the woods, again, and finds Dr. Cruz, who is then killed by Jason using a lawnmower, which, as you've probably guessed, is mostly off-screen. Nick meets up with Melissa and tells her what's going on, whilst we get a cool little small survivor girl run with Tina, and we actually get to see all the bodies, that we should have seen earlier. We then get a badass Jason versus Carrie fight, which isn't as badass as the one a little bit later on, but this is the first time we actually see Jason struggling to fight someone, and to me that's cool. I mean, look at this. She electrocutes him and drowns him a little bit, and then after a brief fight in the teen house, or whatever it's called, she ends up crashing part of the house down on him and just knocking him the fuck out. Like, go Tina. Tina meets up with Nick and Melissa, then we get Melissa's last little bitchy scene. And then finally, we get a real on-screen kill where Jason slams an axe into Melissa's head and throws her across the room. We then get another cool fight scene where Tina smashes lights into his face, tightens his mask till it rips off, and we get to see just how gross but cool Jason looks in this film. This is honestly my favourite look they've ever given Jason, and I'm sad that it was ruined for part 8. Once again, still love part 8. Towards the end, she actually ends up hanging him, a little bit similar to how Chris Higgins did in part 3, but instead of with an actual rope, it's just with a light cord. Then she drops him into a basement and sets him on fire with like an old world record stunt, which I will go into a little bit later on. The house eventually blows up because that's how movies happen if you're made by Michael Bay. Then we get to the final fight. Nick shoots Jason a ton of times, but as we've seen in part 6, that doesn't really do anything. Nick is knocked out, and similar to how he targeted Tommy in part 6, Jason goes after Tina instead because he knows that she's a bigger threat. But Tina finally resurrects her dad because reasons, and he drags Jason to the bottom of the lake again. Don't ask me how or why this is a thing, it just kind of is, and I'm pretty sure the people who made this just ran out of ideas and just needed the film to end. The final scene shows both Nick and Tina getting taken away in an ambulance, with a nice shot of Jason's original mask now being left broken. And that's it! Friday the 13th Part 7 New Blood was released in 1988, and it's honestly one of the most divisive films in the entire franchise, especially when it comes to the fan bases, which are split pretty evenly. Personally, I enjoy this film. I think it's got a very good main plot with the whole telekinetic stuff, and since they introduced Jason as a zombie in the last one, I hate it when people say this film's just too stupid and supernatural. Like, fuck off if you liked part 6. This one's not really much different. But I will openly say that the rest of it is a bit shit. The rest of the characters there are literally there to die. They have no personality traits, they're just some pure stereotypes that are uninteresting to watch apart from Melissa and Nick. And you could instantly tell from introductions who is going to be a main character and who is just going to be there for another kill. And even though characters are introduced for a kill, the kills are dull. There's only 2 actual kills I enjoy in this film, which includes Melissa's because you actually see it, and the sleeping bag one just because it's so infamous. All the others are literally just off screen and there to rack up the body count. I mean, I understand that the original version of this had a ton of awesome, gory as fuck kills, but because of the MPAA completely destroying this film, it really does damage it. Which is why, even though I like this film a lot, I feel like I could have loved it a lot more without all those unnecessary cutbacks. I know I've brought it into the last video and I've not actually reviewed it, even though I kind of should, but for the film My Bloody Valentine, that's a really good example. The original cut's kind of crap because of all the kills being very dull and washed down, whilst in the actual version, which was released in 2009, so much fucking gore with just extra 3 minutes, and it's so much better to actually see what happened. When it comes to actual filmmaking though, the directing is solid all the way through. I have no issue with that. Like I said, for the writing, the actual storyline's great, but you could tell it was only meant to be like a 30-minute short, and then you just added an hour of teens getting murdered. The acting is bad. I will openly say the acting is shit, probably the worst in the entire series so far, because the only person who actually needed really to act is Tina, and even she's a bad actress. The rest of them just kind of show how much worse she is, which is a shame really. Although I do have to say, for the film, it has some amazing special effects just for Jason. Like, how awesome does he look throughout this film? It's so cool, and I'm very happy I've decided to go for this like rotten zombie look instead of the look he ended up going for part 8. Even though I did like part 8's look until he took his mask off, this one I think was a lot stronger. Now, for the fun facts, this film was originally kind of question marked by Paramount, which is one of the reasons why it took 2 years. And after a few concepts where they were actually talking to New Line about doing Freddy vs. Jason, which took 15 years to actually come out after the original ideas, the filmmaker by the name of Daryl Haney came up with the idea of Jason vs. Carrie, but since he obviously weren't able to get Carrie as actual legal property, they ended up creating Tina. And for all those bits of a Jason vs. Carrie, it's awesome. And yeah, go more for that. This is also the quickest film to make in the entire franchise. It took 7 months from that actual concept being fully decided on and written out to the time it was actually released. Which, even though 7 months sounds like a long time, for them to actually go through like the process of getting the locations, getting all the cast members, getting like all the shots actually got through, the editing, which takes for fucking ever, and then to get your distributing ready, all the cinemas, it takes a lot longer than you'd think, and I'm quite impressed it only took them 7 months, but you can kind of tell that by the quality of a lot of the character development. As mentioned earlier, this is the first film to have Kane Hodder in it, who would reprise his role between this movie all the way to Jason X, not in Freddy vs. Jason except in a small cameo where he appears as Leatherface on a TV screen. He also ended up reprising his role though for the video game, where he did the motion capture and a little bit of voice work apparently. Yeah, I'm very happy with this because I know it's going to sound like a basic bitch thing, but Kane Hodder is my favourite Jason. He just has the presence about him, similar to the actors who played him in parts 4 and 6. Badass as hell, and Jason is cool, and Hodder is cool. Honestly, Kane Hodder is the only reason why I watched a Hatchet trilogy. I don't actually mind him, but like over there somewhere, I think. As mentioned earlier, Kane Hodder actually held the world record for the longest controlled stunt involving fire or something at a whopping 40 seconds. The stunt didn't actually go perfectly as planned, and because of it, Kane Hodder got some serious burns on him, which have still stuck him to this day. Just because of that, it kind of proves how much of a badass, and committed Jason actor and stuntman he really was. And once again, Kane Hodder is bae. This is easily the least gory in the franchise as well. Like, the MPAA just ripped this film apart. There was tons of cool little concepts as well that was planned, just for scenes that were actually shot and extended for a lot longer. Like, a few of the kills, you could actually see what happened. One of them included the nerdy guy, Eddie, actually being decapitated, which sounds pretty cool, as his head was seen a little bit later on. And the nerdy girl, Maddie, getting impaled through the neck by the sickle, which, once again, still makes no sense for the angle of the shot, but it would have been so much cooler to see since she had the most off-screen kill out of all of them. Overall, though, the main question is this a good movie? Yes, but only marginally from being average. Honestly, the only reason why this stands out so much from any other just generic Friday movie is Tina. If it was just teens getting murdered at a camp again, this is probably the worst one just because it's been done so many times by this point, and since part 6 was so different. You could see where they tried to continue this supernatural and different idea that was introduced in part 6, but it just seemed like two different films by the end of it. You had the Friday the 13th movie and you had a psychological horror movie, and it is weird. As I mentioned earlier, the characters are, apart from Tina and her little group, are dull. There's no point to them, and because of that I think it really damages the movie, and the lack of gore just damages it even more. But just because it is so different, I would recommend this film. Even though the kills are watered down, some of them are still fun, such as the sleeping bag one. It has Kane Hodder in it playing Jason, who is just instantly badass in the role. You've got a lot of new concepts with all the psychological stuff. You've got at least an interesting family dynamic with Tina and her mum, as well as a little bit of political stuff with the doctor being a bit of a sociopath. I would say I enjoy this film. It had so much potential to be good, but because just some things just didn't go right, it kind of knocked it down. I'd say it's kind of an average Friday movie, but was it not a bad film? Anyway, that was Friday the 13th, Part 7 in New Blood. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share and subscribe. I know I said this was going to be a Cloverfield video today, but honestly, I couldn't be arsed watching through Cloverfield again. I know these movies off by heart, and they're much easier just to sit through since they're only about 80 to 90 minutes until the next one, which is about 100 minutes. So, sorry, and I'll cover both Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane after I've finished doing my Friday series, and I'm going to have a few bonuses, like I'm finally going to review My Bloody Valentine. Quite late, I know, but let it go. Anyway, that was Friday the 13th, Part 7. If you did enjoy this, please be sure to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you all next time for Part 8. Please don't automatically dislike the next video. Goodbye.